Let me be abusive a little bit, President Macron, and start by doing what is necessary on behalf of our people of Zambia, because Zambia was more or less used like a guinea.
This is the journey to One Africa.
One of the deliverables for this summit, and President Macron is aware, I came down here and requested that, obviously also the President of China, that we should ensure that by the time this summit takes place, we'll have delivered the Zambia debt restructuring project. And as at yesterday, this is one of the deliverables at this summit. Thank you to China. Thank you to France for chairing the G20 framework. Thank you to South Africa for being the deputy chair for this process, and also to all of the countries that in one way or another supported this process to reach the conclusion it did yesterday and the benefit it would deliver to other debtor countries, because Zambia was more or less used like a guinea pig. And we are now in this situation, and we hope that the lessons of that process can be learned and learned correctly and be applied to the other processes that will commence starting, I believe, following this summit. But I must also say thank you to the people of Zambia for their patience. We took this project as one of our responsibilities before we formed government as an opposition party, that debt restructuring was a critical deliverable for us. And the people of Zambia were very patient, extremely patient, pain on the other side because of the structural adjustment, the structural processes. And if there's one lesson that I want to share with other countries, that leadership is crucial at the country level. To be clear of what you want and say so to your people. The people may not support everything that's necessary. Institutional reform, consumption expenditure controls. I dare say, habits of corruption are enjoyed by many in our countries. And when you put reforms, you confront them as well. But it's important to be intentional as leaders and then deliver that to our communities. They will go through the pain, but they will support you, as Zambians have done that. Thank you very much to the people of Zambia. Let me put context to this. Poverty, climate change. We have already argued that these are intertwined. There's no question about it. Let me draw the first aspect of the connection. Even before we talk about financing, new financing, more financing, when countries are not growing economically, you cannot expect a poor person to carry an additional burden. That is necessary to drive growth, to drive development. So poverty actually exacerbates the climate change mitigation measures, I argue. And it's very clear. If you are asking your poor people to switch energy sources, can they afford from charcoal to cleaner energy? They're already stressed. So we need to find mechanisms to support the poor in our countries, less privileged. I heard this word called poverty, the poor, but the less privileged, to be able to come through to support the changes that are required to mitigate climate change negative effects. I think that's very, very important. It's also true to say climate change, on the flip side, has imposed new obligations on the less privileged. For us as a global community, to mobilize resources, yes, but these resources must be invested to help grow the economies of the less developed countries. Very important. because by doing that, we are creating capacity in those economies to mitigate against climate change and obviously poverty reduction. So value addition, not just with the electric vehicle industry that is coming through, huge industry. It is important, President Macron, that we look at deliberately investing in extraction, critical minerals, for example, in value adding these minerals in country. Obviously, that will help the growth side of the GDP, create jobs, business opportunities for the transactional chain in there, if I may call it that. So I think this must be deliberate as well. Rather than generic discussions, we must dive deep into the envelope and begin to say, these are requirements, these are needs, these are minimums. And it will mutually benefit, as somebody said yesterday, not to polarize the conversation, the North and the South. It will definitely, if it's structured properly, benefit the North, the South. And that's not the debate we must be engaging in, but mutuality for greater good, for a safe world, for a world that we can pass on to the next generation in a responsible manner.